welcome to another fantastic episode of RGDS, your retro gaming discussion show. It's your host, Paul Driscoll, aka the Drisk, and joining me as always, the King of Retro. Yes, it is Gordon King, aka Kingy. How are you, buddy?
Hello, Paul. Hello, everyone. Yeah, I'm good, thanks. Yourself?
Oh, fantastic. Still on a high from the Meetup, wasn't it, that we did at
Oh,
Arcade
absolutely.
Club?
I mean, obviously,
Yeah.
at the time of recording, this is Saturday evening again, so can't you believe a week ago we're in the midst of, the big Saturday meetup and just having a fantastic time at the club. It was just amazing.
Oh, I would love to go every week. It's an amazing place. But we'll get into all of that. But yeah, for those, who haven't read the title, we thought, for this episode, we would cover all about the meetup, and what Arcade Club is like in 2024 in general. But of course, we've chosen 6 games that we thought would be interesting choices. They're ones we've never covered before, and they're lesser known arcade titles that were all at Arcade Club as well.
Yep.
But it's ones that, at least, even if you didn't go to our meetup or don't care about that element, you still got interesting games to try yourself and enjoy and discover. So, but before we go into that, what have we been up to retro-wise outside of obviously the arcade meetup? What about you, Kingy? Anything?
Kind of the aftermath out with these games, still continuing to play MAME games, to be honest, or that. Because the guys are still chatting in our Arcade Club chat and our Discord channel.
Yeah.
And, so, yeah, again, it was not getting in depth about the Arcade Club itself, but been really addicted to playing Ridge Racer, to be honest, more than anything else. Really enjoying it, trying to just find that perfect lap.
I need to set that up now. I've got the wheel. My problem is because I've started the new job. Is what it's like. And I'm sure our listeners do as well. When you start a new job, you're learning like 1,000,001 things, and so by the time you get home in the evening, you just want to sleep. Pretty much, you're absolutely shattered. So, which is why probably for the next few episodes it'd be a weekend recording. Sorry, Kingy, but I just won't have anything left in the tank middle of the week until I get up to speed.
Understandable. I mean, to be honest, I've caught the dreaded Arcade Club lurgy this time round. I know a few of the listeners.
It's you licking the screens. That's what
it's been. Yeah, I know. Ash, big fat ginger cat. He's been a bit ill as well, a bit poorly posted as well. But to be honest, I had the sniffles going down in the train, so it's never left me. So coming back in the evenings after work, it's been a bit more enduring being at work, just feeling a bit under the weather. So yeah, just the simple games, So I've just stuck with MAME for this week and been thoroughly enjoying it, I must say, to say the least. So that's been my focus on anything retro, to be honest.
Oh, it is wonderful. It is wonderful. Actually, keeping with that, I mean, one thing I did do that outside of the meetup. So there's the new DLC for, the Atari 50th anniversary collection that Digital Clips did. Well, they've come out with very affordable DLC. I actually went for the double pack because there's one that's released just a couple of days ago called The Wider World of Atari. And on the 8th of November, there'll be another one called Console War. And I'm not entirely sure what's on the Console War, but I'm certainly can tell you what's on the Wider World of Atari, and it's really good.
Because I'm very intrigued by this, because I've got obviously the original release, so any extra DLC for a good price is up my street.
It's fantastic. Well, the first bit of good news, it is incredibly well and realistically priced DLC. So I think each individual one, if you were to buy, was like £6.50 or something like that. And that's amazing because like DLC for number 1 comes with 19 games. So very, very cool. The second release, which I don't know what it is, but I did the double pack, and that was like that was like, I think it was like £11.60. It wasn't like breaking the bank or anything. But on pack 1, it's really good. So, I mean, you may not be aware that Atari have been buying up loads and loads of companies. So they actually bought Digital Clips. They bought Night Dive Studios, who are the people doing all the first-person shooters and things. But they've also bought companies like Stern and Infogrames and a whole stack of companies. So they're really building quite a collection of retro games here. But of course, because it's Stern, one of the fantastic things which you get on the DLC now is Berserk. Berserk is finally part of the so that's part of the DLC and part of the Atari 50th anniversary. And they don't just give you the arcade version, they give give you the 2600 version, the enhanced 2600 version, and the 5200 version. They also give you the arcade version of Frenzy. And then you get other interesting ones like Red Baron, Skydiver, Avalanche, all interesting games. And some of the really old ones like Destroyer, which is a very simple game. You know that one where you're like in the destroyer ship at the top and you drop bombs on the things below. But they've got the overlays absolutely perfect that you can put
That's
on.
the important part, isn't it?
Yeah, and likewise, they've done the same with Superbug. I mean, Superbug's a great overhead, very early. I mean, I don't want to set people's expectations. Very early, sort of like driving around. But
it's one of my most earliest memories of arcade gaming, to be honest.
Oh, so you played it back in the day, yeah.
Yes, now we played it down in Cornwall. Oh, I was young. Right, so what's the year of release of that again now?
Oh, I mean, it's definitely late 70s, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we were down there 79.
Yeah.
If memory serves me correct, maybe even 78. And just playing that with my brother, I remember the steering wheels being, it's like the loose super sprint type steering wheel, isn't it? It's not got resistance or anything like that, but it just felt huge to my young hands playing the game and just being besotted by it. It was incredible. These very early period arcade games, the sound of them, the looks of them, the aesthetics, everything is very nostalgic for me because it does take me back to just certain summer holidays being away, and you're taken right back there when you play them.
Well, I mean, it's really well done. Again, the overlays is done properly, which of course, that's so important. Otherwise, the car's not yellow and it just doesn't feel right.
Yeah, it's a black and white game otherwise.
yeah, exactly. I mean, you can choose to switch it off, but why would you? Yeah. But of course, what's great about the DLC is it's not just the games. Desert Falcon and Off the Wall, brilliant games. But you've also got, which is really cool, the video sections. So, I mean, for those who've never got the 50th anniversary, it is what all retro compilations should be, because it's almost like a museum, isn't it? You go through videos and you can play the games, but it gives you all the history, and it's almost like a journey that it takes you down if you want, or you can just dive straight in the games. It's a brilliant layout, isn't it? All games, all retro compilations should be like it, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
But the videos are really good. They've got a whole new video sections of Breakout, even though you had the game before. And of course, that's a fascinating story, because Breakout they hired a certain Steve Jobs, who basically said he could code and really couldn't. So you got Steve Wozniak to do the actual coding for him, who of course, I mean, I'm sure everybody knows that they started Apple. They went on to start, found Apple and Apple Computing. And so that's fascinating. But they also did, and I'm so glad, because it was one of the sections that was missing from the original, is they've done the art of Atari. So you've got the evolution of the logos. You've got the person who, the people that designed the logo, and all the iterations that they could have gone down. And it's quite interesting to see all the possible things they decided before they hit on the sort of like volcano style mounting with the famous Atari arches, and also the box art as well. They video sections on that as well. So it's another fantastic extension for those who like to own these sort of things rather than digital. Obviously, keep it separate. I know on the Switch, at least, they are coming out with Atari 50th Anniversary Expanded Edition, which will have the original 50th and the expansion DLCs, the two of them, all on the one cart, which is kind of cool. I'll be honest. My days of physical collecting of modern games has gone, but it's nice. I know a lot of people that's really important too.
Yes, I don't have the real estate, so I can't.
That's the only reason with me. But that, and also I just, for the most part, I don't see the point, because with a lot of games, even if you buy it physically, obviously it always has to install the whole damn thing on it and then do updates. So you really got a coaster. And it's not even that much faster to download off the disc as it is to
we're getting people's fears that anything delisted, and there's some stores, not like Steam, where once it's delisted, There are places where you even lose it from your own collection, which is awful. I mean, that needs to be a bit more,
more protection. Well, that's the thing.
Protected that.
I'm
Because at least in
terrified
Steam,
with that, yeah.
with Steam, if you've bought beforehand, what was the Outrun one and the Afterburner one that both existed, but they are long gone and delisted from the Steam store. But at least if you bought them, you own them.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I couldn't. The fear and thought of losing things is with us all, whether you're a digital gamer or a physical gamer. Your discs could knacker, your cassettes from the 8-bit period will demagnetise, get corrupt, whatever. Nothing lasts forever. That's the point.
Well, that's the thing, isn't it? Even with the physical collections. I mean, that's one of the reasons I sold off a lot of my CD32 collection. Apart from one's really special to me, was because I could see the discs getting more and more worn, and I just knew they weren't particularly, in that era on CD. You could see it wasn't going to last forever. You could see it was going to get damaged to the point of never being able to play them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it is one thing we've discussed many times, but I don't know. I mean, I guess one solace is all the fantastic emulation that's being done. Although, I don't know, have you seen, just as we always do this, go on tangents with things, but as we do. But have you seen, like, people who make Duck Station are threatening to shut up shop because it's getting tougher for them? Like
it's more because obviously it was open source beforehand, wasn't it? And then, so download it now before. You can't. I mean, there's always these things. You will always be able to find the last build of it hidden somewhere in the recesses of the internet. But what you want is these things continue to evolve. For each new version, there is an improvement, right? Look how Dolphin has evolved over time to give, I suppose it's more compatibility, isn't it? There's certain games, the way they're coded, that give an issue, they're a bit glitchy, the audio's not right, or the video's a bit, buggy, and eventually they patch it and make it work for a game you really want it to work for. But 9 times out of 10, Duck Station's a very good example of, and to be honest, an emulator for me that does enough upscaling and improvements and gets rid of that. I mean, people might be nostalgic for the lo-fi nature or the wobbly.
Well, you could choose that if you want.
If you want it, it's there.
But I must admit, going, the upscales, you realise how beautiful it makes some of these games, isn't it?
Yeah.
When I've gone
the 2D bitmaps are always, they can't be upscaled. That's fine.
Yeah.
But in terms of any 3D games, it's incredible quality that it made. Going back when we did the episode on Tomb Raider with our friends from Discord, it made it so enjoyable to play, and it's because for me the PlayStation was obviously like the Saturn as well, the real early iteration of 3D gaming. It did date badly. When you move on to the next, the PS2 or the PS3 or the Xbox or whatever, you go back and take the rose-tinted glasses off, and some of these games, especially playing them on modern monitors and that, it's like, oh god, they're a bit but ugly, they're still learning their craft in the 3D world. I mean, some of the games are quite rudimentary. Anyway, even if you can improve the graphics, the gameplay is a bit, you know what I mean? But it's great fun to have a tool that gives you that replayability and makes it look, if you don't have a CRT, don't have a real estate or whatever, it makes the game look like what I've always said, what it did in your eyes back then.
Yeah.
Right.
And even if you compare it to a CRT, when I have tried PlayStation 1 on the CRT with the real hardware, etc., it looks so much more beautiful when it's upscaled.
When you add, even you can add the scan lines and a bit bloom to it and curvature, and I'm quite a fan of at least trying to replicate it somewhat as close to the original as possible. The upscaling for me is important, though. On top of that, it just looks more high fidelity. But as always, you know what? I'm not going to go in any camp because there is no wrong way.
No, right way. It's however you want to reach the games, isn't it?
That's exactly that. If you want to play with save states now, some people think that's cheating. you know what? In this complex life that we live in, I love a good safe state, especially in a big game and these kind of titles, arcade games. You would use them to maybe learn a level to perfect it. So therefore, when you go back to the beginning again, you're trying to learn the ropes of the game. People may say that's cheating, not like the old 10 pence. Stick with 1 credit, always remain with 1 credit, and see how good you go, and just get better by trial and error and tenacity.
Yeah.
I lack that these days, just because we're in a world we learn such impatience, I suppose.
As you say, time is, and I think it's for everybody.
We're family men, we're working men.
That's it. I mean, when some people, play hundreds of hours on a video game, I mean, that's great. I'm not taking anything away from them, but it's like I could never do that. I could never justify taking that much time away from a family and
yeah. Back in the days when we did do that, we didn't. We maybe had a job, right? Or you were maybe at uni or whatever. I was too thick for uni, so there was a finite. You had. I'm not taking away from uni. You had plenty of time because you had your studies, you had your dissertations.
No, it was mostly partying.
Mostly partying. Yeah, but when we were younger, we were far more disposable with our time. That's probably a more apt way of putting it, right? And now with the way we work now, many people homework, and I think they're, to use no good old Scottish word, scunnered by staring at a screen all day because homework and everything's on Teams, everything's on this, and it's like, I'm not going to stare at a game anymore for the rest of the evening, So I think how we access games and how we play them and enjoy them, it's very much different now.
Yeah, no, it's true, and however anybody comes at it is absolutely fine, but I am getting more and more concerned with they're definitely starting to clamp down on emulators and things a lot more now.
I've got them all, and that's the thing. If it stops at a version, I've got it. If I can't get the ROM, well, there's ways to get it if you don't have it, but I've got them. So when it's an all-you-can-eat buffet, so to speak, eat your fill, folks, because you never know what the future
exactly
has in store for us.
And it's definitely becoming a scary world, isn't it? With did you see, just as a side, to me it just flags the other danger with digitally owning games. Did you see Sony have doubled the price of Horizon Zero Dawn? The old game.
Yeah.
Basically, because they're doing a remaster that's coming out, and obviously they don't want a version that's really the same game, but obviously slightly ugly graphics, being massively cheaper. So on their stores, digital store, obviously they can't do anything about physical prices of things. They've doubled the price. They made it so it's basically the same price.
Jeez, that is, but I wasn't aware of that.
Yeah, they've done lots of things like that, and they're not the only company. I mean, it's just, at the end of the day, all these companies, I mean, they're not here to be your friend. They're here to make money. That's their primary existence.
Many of the listeners of this show and ourselves, all our friends, right, from this network, it is a niche thing, and video games for us aren't ephemeral. But for everyone else, for Joe Public, they tend to be. Yeah. Right? They'll play the Call of Duty, and then once that's been milked for all it's worth, then they move on to the next thing, and that will never get played again. Whereas, probably a bad example, because I would never want to play Call of Duty again. But
never want to play it full stop.
For some people, that's their manic miner, right? This is the point I'm making, that I would feel sick if Manic Miner or Chucky Egg was not eternally available. You know what I mean? Or difficult to obtain. I'd feel gutted because that's important to me. And we have to look at that from our perspective. But the more casual gamer, they may spend hundreds of hours on video games yet. But in terms of the type of games they play, it's not about the game more than the experience. And they're just, on a battlefield and they're screaming and swearing down the microphone at noobs and, and whatever else they call it.
But I think one of the things that is really good to see, and we saw it at Arcade Club as well as in other sort of like venues. There is starting to be that appreciation with with younger crowds appreciating like video games. I mean, your son's a classic example, isn't it? I mean,
he came this year. That's right.
yeah, he came this year, and he absolutely adored. But he has a genuine love of these old games, which is
he does. He loves the very instant challenge to them. There's no build up. There's very seldom much instructions. Not that you need them 9 times out of 10, but your first few inverted commas 10 pences, your first few credits, you will die instantly in any game you play. It's as simple as that. Unless you're John from our podcast and he can play a game he's never seen before and complete it because you've told him and shown him the concept. He has a gift.
Yeah, he does have a gift.
I don't have such gifts.
Like either that or it's an elaborate hoax and he's played all these games secretly at home.
Very possible.
That's my other theory. But no, he is. He's just genuinely very talented.
A natural gifted gamer. Yeah. So yeah, it's good to see. I will never be a gatekeeper like that to say that a generation under isn't entitled to play any of these games, because I would love to chat to anyone, any age, about a game. And if I've got questions to ask, where did it come from? Do you have memories of it? Anything? Absolutely. It's good to see them play it and get enjoyment out of it.
Oh, it is, and because I'm that very much that way, and and I can see with some people it's that way as well. Where I see the same with films. I mean, that's something we weren't there at the beginning. Unlike gaming, we were there at the beginning, but with films, I mean, I get as much enjoyment from a Charlie Chaplin movie as I do from films in the 80s,
an Aliens
90s,
movie or something,
even like
you like the media of it, you know what I mean? So that's
a good film or is a good film. It doesn't matter whether it's silent or black and white or slightly fuzzy looking. A good film is a good film, and the same with a video game. It doesn't matter that it's got very rudimentary graphics. If the gameplay is sound and addictive, it holds up. And
good games do hold up.
Yeah,
they really do. I'll disagree with movies, but that's from I've said it before, I grew up in a video library and I had my fill, and I find movies very disposable, but that's fine. That's only me.
No, I'm as I say, it's just a general sort of analogy, isn't it? Really.
Yeah. No, it's a good analogy. I mean, it's any form of art like that. It doesn't have to be contemporary. I mean, that's the point. It's very important that younger generations do get access to these things, and to me, Arcade Club is a tactile museum.
Oh, and we are so lucky with Arcade Club. I mean, it gets better every year. Should we go into the...
Good segue, my friend.
Yes, let's absolutely. Go. So to our listeners or new listeners that perhaps are wondering what the hell we're all going to be talking about. So we do a pod. Obviously, with the podcast we do, we've got to meet loads of lovely people. Part of and it's really become a genuine community. A large part thanks to Kingy running the game club and things like that, isn't it? The video game club.
I mean, you know what? It self-perpetuates. I mean, I think a lot of people initially became friends over Jet Set Willy Online, as I think we did on the Discord channel. But it's went beyond that. It is self-running, self-governed by the brilliant listeners that are on it anyway. They're all our friends.
And our Discord. The point. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So
it's an important thing.
So I can't remember now. It's been a couple of years we've been doing this arcade meetup where, we just pick a day in the year when most people on the Discord can make. And we all pile down to Arcade Club, which is in Bury, near Manchester in the UK, just in case to our American listeners. So in Bury, you have this amazing place called Arcade Club, which is the biggest in Europe. You pay on the door. It's at 18 quid a day, isn't it? I think it is now.
18 quid, yeah.
Yeah, or you can buy a monthly pass, which is what I did and Charlie and a couple did.
I shall interject there a little second. You and Charlie were embarrassing both times we arrived at Arcade Club. Listeners, we've all seen Wayne's World, right? With the backstage passes, right? Well, Paul, we're waiting in a queue, not a massive queue, but there's only one person stamping the hand and checking the QR codes if you pre-booked your ticket. So it takes a little bit time to get in. And I'm quite impatient. I just want to get in and up and play games, and the cacophony of the sound of the arcade is enticing you the further you walk into the place, because obviously they've changed where the check-in office is. It's right at the front door now, so the machines are there taunting you, going, play me, Charlie and Drisky are like backstage passes in Wayne's World, just like showing them to the bouncers, ramming it in their faces. Look, I've got a pass. Just walking in, flicking us the V's as they're walking in. Bunch of buggers, the two of yous.
You could get a monthly pass.
I could, but only if I could play the Sunday. But I have to bugger off quickly.
You have to bugger off, yeah. Anyway, no, you're absolutely right. Actually, I was going to queue, but then Charlie suddenly went, and I thought, oh, bugger, but I go. But anyway, but it's the biggest in Europe. You pay on the door. Everything's free inside, and every year it becomes better and better, doesn't it?
It does, absolutely. I've enjoyed it every year, but this year was incredible for many reasons. That we'll get onto. But I think that part is we'll all stay in the Premier Inn. Which is about a 20-minute walk away from Arcade Club.
Yeah.
And fine if you've got mobility issues, that's fine. Don't worry about it. You can get an Uber to Arcade Club. So don't worry about that. We just enjoy that walk. But we'll meet up in the lobby even before we check into our rooms.
Yeah.
And it's brilliant because we kind of all arrive about the same time, about the 3 o'clock mark and onwards, isn't it? And
on the Friday,
that's correct. Yeah,
some made it on the Saturday, but the Friday,
that feel of anticipation of just meeting your old friends, seeing their faces, rather than just communicating digitally to them.
It was lovely to see, wasn't it? Because you had the old, the crowd that have been times before, loads of new faces as well, which was wonderful.
Yeah, let's give some shout outs. So obviously we've had all the regulars for a few years now, right? But this year, obviously Gaz, who's been a long-term listener but new to come in, so it was lovely to meet him. We had a good breakfast even on the Sunday with him, right? Tom as well, which Tom's been a long-term listener as well, but when we used to do October, it clashed with the Play Expo in Blackpool. I know what I'd rather choose, Tom, but that's your prerogative. But anyway, because we did September this year, it was lovely to see him. And obviously Ash, Big Fat Ginger Cat as well, because we used to always clash with his mega marathons and mountain runs. He's a mentalist when it comes to long distance running. The man has no toenails, right? That's just scary in its own right? He's just lost them all by running. But it was lovely to meet you, Ash, as well. And I feel bad. I'm going to say this now. Now, I remember the fella communicating with us via Facebook, right? And he was saying it was coming. And usually when there's that many people, you forget people are coming. So Ian, who came that weekend as well, also stayed in the hotel, but didn't make himself known. And okay, maybe you're just a bit shy, Ian. You weren't sure how to reach out or what. And now I remember you because when we were queuing on the Saturday for Arcade Club, because some people walk so fast from breakfast, right, and others didn't. You waited back, so you were a little bit behind, if you remember.
Yes, that's right.
There was a guy in between us all that I just gave a kind of curt nod to as I was coming up to chat to you guys, and I feel bad now because there was another listener that was there that, you know, just because he wasn't part of the crowd, because for whatever reason. So Ian, please reach out.
Yeah,
don't
well,
bite. Drisky does. Get your rabies shots for Drisky, but nobody else does. Right? But it was. I mean, I've probably forgotten other people that came.
I mean, there was loads, wasn't it? But I mean, and that was just wonderful. It grows every year, but more importantly, it really does. It melts the heart when you know, when on that first meetup or any of the times, isn't it? When it's just genuine friends as people, and because there's enough people now. They're all in their own pockets chatting, but going around chatting to the different like pockets of groups, and just everybody's big friends talking all things retro. You had a few people that were giving gifts to each other, and we got a gift as well, didn't we? Which was
I was
wonderful.
suitably embarrassed and humbled.
Humbled was me. I wasn't embarrassed, but I was humbled. I was really touched.
I was. I mean, observing everyone chatting. I go up to the bar for a pint, and I lean against the bar and I look at everyone chatting. And to me, that is reward enough for doing the podcast.
Yes, same for me.
It's a community all about it, right? And it was fantastic to see. Just this is fantastic. So we're all sitting chatting, weren't we?
Yeah.
And Ginger Tips, it was like the father of the bride. There was this chink on his coffee cup. Ching, 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 ching. Is like, oh shit! I was busy enjoying Turnbull's play date. Did you get a chance to play the
No, I didn't get to play. I saw it, but I didn't get a chance to play.
I'm going to have to get one. Thanks for bringing that down, Turnbull. I'm impressed with.
That's the thing with the crank handle, isn't it?
Yes, the crank handle handheld console Game Boy like thing with a black and white LCD screen. Yeah. I want one of those. That is such innovative games on that I've been highly impressed with. So that's on my definite wish list. But anyway, there's this chink 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 on the coffee cup, and Turnbull starts then speaking, right? And as a gift for all our efforts on the podcast, there was a present from Turnbull and Almac for us. I think a few of us chipped in. So, one each for us. A few of us chipped in, but these were the focus guys on this. So not to take it away from anyone that contributed, but everyone, thank you for this.
Thank you to all involved.
Everyone knew about it. This is the point. It was a very good kept secret. So over the last number of months, Turnbull would be asking me very bizarre questions about, so what would you say the best game on this was? And it's like, geez, mate, that's a bit random. But anyway, of course, when people speak about games to me, I like to oblige. So,
of course.
So cue that thought there. And they handed us these gifts as what they said was a small thank you for our contributions of giving this podcast, the community, the meetup, the whole ethos of the thing. So Paul and I simultaneously open up these happy birthday wrapped presents. Just a small packet. Opened them up. Wow. So what we received was, the modern iterations of the Game & Watches that came with Zelda on it, right?
That's so multiple games of Zelda,
So we went.
That's awesome. Yeah.
That's awesome. Wow, because I wanted one, I just didn't.
Yeah, I didn't own one either, so I was happy.
Yeah, because I knew that the screen was meant to be really nice in them.
Yeah.
Well, these things can be hacked. I didn't even know this was a thing. But it's a far more complex hack. You don't just plug a USB.
Certainly it would be on my abilities. I know I would have been able to.
Yes, well, what's happened here is Almac, my good friend Alistair,
Yeah.
he's been very good at starting to repair handhelds and consoles and that. And he's created a whole soldering workstation. I mean, he's going to go mad with all the mercury and the lead and the solder, and such like. You know, I mean, accumulative effects of heavy metals in the body. He needs to read that study. He's going to go mad. He's mad anyway, so I suppose it won't affect him anymore. But you have to desolder the existing chip on because the memory is small and solders another chip on and reflashes the OS and does other scripts and all the rest. So
yeah, it's a big job to hack it as well.
It's a big job, yes. And they both put then a curated games list from all these bizarre random questions that I was telling you about onto that. So it was a bespoke. So Paul has similar. There'll be crossover games, but games we highlighted and games we specified, they've put on this thing for us, and what a beautiful thing it is, isn't it? The screen is gorgeous.
Fantastic. Yeah, right? So, and of course you got all the normal Zelda, and so like to look at it normally it feels like the one, but you do sort of like you press the game and left button on the menu.
That's correct, yeah.
And then it goes into this menu, and you got ColecoVision, you've got any 8-bit NES, there's the original Game Boy or Game Boy Color,
Game Gear.
Master System, Game Gear, and
SG 1000.
Yeah, and quite impressive the PC Engine, which the TurboGraphics. Yeah, I didn't realise it, but obviously I think they only had 64 meg to play with, but they've done the curated list is really impressive. I mean, I think Turnbull took the lead of choosing what to put on there, and he's like really chosen like a fantastic list of interesting games. So we've definitely promised it'd probably be the next episode. We will go
definitely next
in
episode,
depth into it, telling you about some of the interesting, well, they're all interesting, but some of the games we think you'll be interested we've not talked about before on it, and the wider device. But
I've also got I was just speaking to Almac tonight, and I'm going to do a separate interview with him in the process of what he did.
Oh, that'd be fascinating.
And I'll add it on as a midsection to the episode as well.
That would be brilliant. Yeah, that'd be a great one to add. Yeah, so we were really touched with that, and because
it doesn't even touch
it. It doesn't even touch it.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you very much. Because it wasn't just the gift; it was the effort that I know and the difficulty that went in. It really was a gift of love and care. It wasn't just someone like. I mean, even that's wonderful if someone just picked something off the shelf and bought. But I mean, they really went to town on this, so very, very special. Mm-hmm. But on to Arcade Club. So obviously, after our meetup, we all toddle across to the Friday night, and it's amazing, isn't it? Arcade Club now. I mean, it gets better every year. I mean, the first thing is because there wasn't a queue on the Friday because it tends to be a bit quieter.
Quiet doesn't cut. No, it felt dead. We had it to ourselves almost,
which was wonderful. Really, I mean, not complaining.
On one hand, I'm not complaining. On the other hand, it's like
you worry, but but you got to remember, it's like the summer holidays have finished and things, so there's probably that. But but I always remember like Aaron White, who and me were chatting, and we did our usual thing of started wandering. We just walked past all the bouncers to where the queue would, like where you pay your tickets, where it used to be, which was on the back wall of the ground floor. And then we looked around and thought, oh, where is it? And then we had to like go back past the bouncer to go and actually pay. I mean, the bouncer just let us in. But because they've really they've got rid of all the sort of, there used to be a shop and a back wall and this whole cloakroom area. And they made the cloakroom area a lot smaller on the front now. So they've allowed all these extra machines into the place now. And, so it tends to be now the modern arcade games are on the ground floor. I mean, there's some modern upstairs, isn't it? But you got things like Sega Rally 3 and ATV, and there was a jet bike one, wasn't it? It was really quite cool. And of course, you got all the ones that were there before, like Pac-Man.
Battle Royale,
Royale.
the firm favourite, yeah.
Yeah, that's one that we've talked about before. But you know, it's just wonderful to see, and there's even pool tables and things downstairs, isn't it? I think, and
yeah, it's a pool table, single pool table there. There's the VR room now downstairs. Now that's used to be next to the pinball area upstairs, and then that went away
to make
since the whole COVID lockdown as well, though, because they obviously close contact and all that nonsense. So that's made a return.
Yeah, I've never liked the idea of communal VR.
Yes. Do you remember? Sorry, I'm just when we were at primary school and we had listening stations, and they used to wipe all the headsets with TCP before the next person wear them.
Yeah,
I still smell TCP and think of those listening, big Coomber headsets, and it was stinking. But anyway, you want to say bring your own TCP and wipe it on the lens, not the lens, but the fabric around the lens.
yeah, and as I say, the other thing now, obviously, everything's pretty much the same. But there was a few. We mentioned some of the new games that were there, and then we go in detail of ones that were new as well that we were covering in full, of course. So probably at the end we'll just mention some of the other new ones, but. But yeah, the first floor's the Japanese floor, isn't it? So really loud, the first floor, because you've got all these music, dancing machines.
The older I get, the harder I can cope with that, by the way.
And you've got all the pinball machines down there. But they had opened up, the back wall had all these fighters, wasn't it? There was loads of extra fighters, so that was new. Yeah, there were some interesting ones as well, which we'll get into the end. But then you get into the second floor. And that also has the arcade candy cab rooms, doesn't it? The first floor.
Yeah,
I think.
Yeah.
And then you get into the second floor, and the second floor. I'm trying to think what's on the.
You're getting that flipped, by the way. I think
the second floor is the Japanese, is it? Yes,
that's right.
The first floor's with all the more modern arcades, isn't it?
The bigger, it's got Luigi's Mansion arcade
Battle
game,
Pod, Star Wars Battle Pod, Luigi's
that's
Mansion,
the one,
and Dark Escape 4D. I love introducing Dark. I mean, we talked about it before, but Dark Escape 4D is amazing. And if people haven't played it, and you go to Arcade Club, go into it, because it's basically House of the Dead, but you're wearing far more gorier, but you're wearing 3D glasses. It's blowing wind on your face. And great fun. It measures your heartbeat, so as you're shooting, and then it compares you and says who's like the scaredy cat of the group, the two that are playing. Brilliant. And then you got the Japanese floor, but the one, of course, we spend most of the time with is on the top floor, which is, of course, the fantastic retro gaming floor. And it's got everything, isn't it? From your just from all the classic, the golden classics like Pac-Man and Space Invader 2 and all these interesting arcade games, all the Donkey Kongs, whatever you want really of the classic era is pretty much there, and you've got all of the ones which probably more our generation, which is like your Robocops, your Double Dragons, all of those sort of things. Yeah.
Wonder Boy,
Bubble, obviously,
you name it. It's New Zealand Story, APB, Buggy Boy Jr.
Of course, Outrun, the deluxe edition, Ridge Racer, which is, of course, that's become a yearly favourite of the group, isn't it? We always
to get
do
the best
challenges.
lap.
Get the best
it's fantastic.
Lap. It's just an amazing place. And I mean, I know we've done dedicated episodes, but I don't to it before, so I probably won't go any more detail on it at this stage and concentrate on the games. But is there any more you want to say in general before we go into the games themselves?
Yeah, just one more. That it was just great to see the turnout we had this year. It was just, in terms of turnout, and everybody probably even more comfortably friends with each other now. It was just like,
and so welcoming to the new people as well.
Oh, absolutely, and I hope anyone new that came this year came away feeling that
everybody became firm friends by the end.
Yeah, absolutely. It just went in far too fast. That I'll say one more on this, right? Because we can chuckle about it, right, and then we'll get on to our chosen games. It's always a downer leaving on the Sunday, even though we're a little bit later. We were able to go. We went up to the Witherspoonsy-like place for breakfast with the shite coffee.
It wasn't good.
It was good just sitting there, and we're still chatting about things, and I just love the conversation we'll have. But anyway, so the curse of me, never travel with me on the way home for the 6th year running, right? Minus the lockdown year we couldn't, because I've been coming since when? 2017, 2018, whenever.
With yourself,
right?
Wow.
Yeah, it's been that many years now. And it's been slowly built up. A few people come and build up on it. The trains were cancelled yet again. And it really...
We're so unlucky with that.
It pisses me off. By the way, me and you got in the door. Now, you went back to your arcade club, had a good afternoon on the Sunday, then got a coach back to Birmingham, right? Yeah. I got in 10 minutes, just 10 minutes earlier than you did. So you must have got in about 7:45 or something like that. You got home, something like that. I was home. Well, the train got into my hometown at 7:25 in the evening after leaving. We were meant to be getting the 12 o'clock train from Bolton, because we went to Bolton this time because an Uber or a taxi from Bolton to Bury is actually really quick. They're both northern Manchester boroughs, so it was really quick, and we'll do that again, right? And I'm sorry anyone that lives in Bolton, okay? It is, but when you're stranded in a place, it was cold as shit, right? The place was dismal, and it was raining, right? And there was nothing to do, and you're stuck in the train station. But all I can say...
You had your new Game & Watch device. That should have kept you good.
I know, but I'm not one... My hands were too cold to bloody play it.
Oh, was it that cold?
I was just... We were just, the four of us were chatting. Oh, by the way, that sounds bad. I missed another person. Of course, apologies. Davey, he's just in my neck of the woods. He's one town away. He came down on the train with us. So apologies for missing your name there, Davey. I knew I would. And of course, Phil couldn't make it from Aberdeen because he was poorly. So sorry you missed out on the experience this year.
Yeah. And also, sorry, because we took a photo. It'll be up now on the video version, which was lovely, and but we didn't think about it on the Friday, so apologies to those that could only make the Friday that we did take a photo.
I know. It always happens on a Saturday, that traditional picture. It's a good one. It
was a good picture, but also it's like herding cats, and we didn't know where half the people are. It's a big place, and you only have so much time to try and find everybody, and the people are about like Lorenzo and a couple of people were about to leave, so we only had a finite time to take the photo. So I'm really sorry there was quite a few that we couldn't find for the photos. So apologies.
Sure.
We're trying to do a Photoshop one with those. So,
we'll add them on. So my final point on Bolton and being stranded there, and apologies if you're insulted by this, right? But now you know my views for Dundee. Sorry, Gav, right? But Dundee had a benefit gig for Bolton, right? That's all I'm going to say.
At least Dundee had DMA design.
Oh dear.
No, I had a lovely journey.
You can go and spin.
And it was lovely on the Sunday. Did you notice I beat everybody's score by 10 points when they couldn't be there to verify?
Oh, it's a miraculous achievement, that.
No, I don't even attempt to do, because that's the other thing that we do, is that we do we decide on a number of games, and then there's a friendly competition between everybody to try and get the best score.
Yeah, with a shared spreadsheet, an Excel spreadsheet.
But I'm terrible with games, so I don't even attempt, because it'd be embarrassing putting my scores on. I look at the scores that people generate, and I think, okay, I'm not putting my score on there.
Funny.
Yeah, but it's good, and people really get in. Really learn these games over across the weekend. They really put the hours into their favourite games.
Yeah.
So it's an amazing place. I mean, well worth. I mean, by all means, please, try and come. It'll be around about September and October next year. They're already talking this how much they love it. There might be like a small subgroup going to the Leeds one or what have you in February, isn't it? Because they all had such a great time. Certainly, Kingy and a few people won't be able to make that because it's just too far. But yeah, no, it's a fantastic thing. But the other thing I just want to call out actually is I truly love, and this is why I genuinely believe, even though I've not been to Galloping Ghosts or like the Fun Stop and a lot of the famous ones in America or Japan for that moment, for that mention, but I have seen videos of all these places and like drooling over all the arcade machines, watching walkthroughs, and I genuinely believe that Bury in the arcade club in Bury is the best in the world. And the reason I say that is it might not have like the sheer numbers of Galloping Ghosts in Chicago, but every one of those arcade machines is fantastically. It's like they're brand new. They've got like one of the best CRT engineers in the country working on all these screens. So they're making it absolutely. You're looking at it and think, oh my god, this is like it was just rolled off the factory floor.
Yeah,
it's that beautiful. The colours, everything is exactly right, but also popping, even far better than the arcades back in the day. If I'm honest, because they were usually like run down things, weren't they?
That's right. Especially on travelling markets.
Yeah, which unfortunately was how I played a lot of the arcade games. Most of my experiences was it stealing my money and then never being able to get anything from ever get that money back. That money was lost. Which, to be honest, if I see any in the wild, that's usually my experience as well. Like a Manx TUT in Worthing, when that was there on one of the things, that took me money. So it's just absolutely beautiful, and I love the fact as well that they use it's real hardware. I think they use some J-Rocks on the odd. I think one machine I know is a J-Rock, but that's not emulation. That's like still the real deal, but everything else is like it's the real hardware, the real chips, the real components. They even make a point to get the real like joystick or elements, isn't it? So it's exactly what it was. I mean, it's really, really special, and I just don't think there is that level of care. I mean, I found that shocking when talking to like Pipes and things that is it like Fun Spot replacing games, arcade machines with LCDs and things. I mean, to me, that is, particularly with some of famous like Fun Spot, it's just sacrilege, because I mean, that's no better than like all these NQ64s and things where they just like stick in LCDs, and it's not like being snobbish. For me, it is partly a history thing, but also they also lazily put it in. Usually, if it's like the NQ64 ones and things, they won't even get the right ratio, or they won't attempt to put any like retro-tink or anything to upscale it, make it look right, or as close as it could could do. So I think I genuinely believe, and to our listeners, send videos to by all means to prove me wrong, that it's the best place in the world, because it might not have the numbers of galloping ghosts, because and it is amazing, the collection of galloping ghosts when you see walkthroughs. But then galloping ghosts, it's like a warehouse. It's just like really tightly packed.
Yeah, is it a bit more soulless? At least upstairs in Bury, there's a vibe that you're actually playing it in some dingy arcade emporium, if you know what I mean. There's a bit attitude to the building.
Yeah, it just works, doesn't it? You feel like you're back in time. Things are spaced out as well, reasonably well. So there's enough space. Like if you're on a machine, you're not going to be constantly being told to get out the way or anything like that, or like bumping into the person behind you. You know, who's trying to play the game on the other side.
Yeah,
behind you. So it's I just think it's such a beautiful place, and that's just something I wanted to shout out. I think we're so lucky to have this on a relative doorstep. I know it's a long way for you, and particularly with the British public transport mess
on the way home. Particular.
It is a poor network, isn't it, across the board? To be honest, I mean, we used to get lots of delays with the trains, but because of the train strikes, it introduced Charlie and me to going by coach, and then we realised it was like 5 times cheaper, and we had no problems, and you're guaranteed a seat. So now we just go by coach, because it's like, get this right, for me and Charlie to go by coach, return 30 quid. That's both
decent.
of us. That's both of us.
That's
return.
Decent.
It's ridiculous. Not just decent. It's like I had to double check the ticket. I was like thinking, oh my god, did I just buy one ticket and Charlie hasn't got a ticket?
See, we don't have that. Even if we got a bus.
Oh, it's too far for you.
So if I had to do that, I would still have to get a train into Edinburgh.
Yeah.
Right. Then from Edinburgh, I would have to get a coach to Manchester, and then have to rely on the trams or whatever then to get into Bury. It'd just be nigh on impossible.
Yeah. No, that's one of the things, isn't it? But I guess what I'm saying there's a lot of people came by car as well. There is parking, and the beauty thing is for a lot of people, you can actually drive there and back in a day typically. So there's different ways of going to a place, but please, visit this place, because as Kingy alluded to on Friday and things, you do worry: is there enough people? Right, as you probably heard with that fantastic music there, that little ditty, it is, of course, Amadar. I think that's the way to say it.
Rock me Amadar.
Yeah, so I don't remember this being at Arcade Club before, but it's certainly a real classic with people. Of course, it came out in 1981 by Konami, although in the US it was published by Stern, and Europe it was the Stern, or typically in my experience it was a bootleg actually, but
probably yeah.
But this is a really weird, interesting game, isn't it? So I'll describe this one. So basically, in the game, you play. Well, it's a gorilla and a pig, and a paintbrush, isn't it? So you get a choice.
Yeah, bizarre concept.
And it's got really interesting for the time. A very different sort of like game boards to play. So in the first one, you play a gorilla. And the idea is it's a bit like Pac-Man. You have to go around the maze, and you essentially pick up all the power pellets to basically collect them all.
They're coconuts.
Oh, was it coconuts? Well, they look like
coconuts.
Power pellets. Oh, all right. Power pellet coconuts, and you avoid all the Amadars, and One of the cool things is as you fill it out, like so you go. It says obviously the maze has essentially like boxes put together, and as you eat all the coconuts, it colours it in blue. And it's a good way of it just gives it a different look to Pac-Man as you're working your way through. One of the things that is unique with it is you've got a limited number of jumps you can do, but ironically, it doesn't make you jump, which always gets me because I always think I'm going to be the one that's jumping. It actually makes all the Amadars, the enemies, jump, and so that therefore slows them down, so it allows you to get away. Yeah. Or if you're skilled enough, although I wasn't typically, you can sort of like jump under them. But the other thing that's rather cool, when you collect the 4 corners of that first board, it actually becomes a bit like Pac-Man, where for the smallest amount of time you can like eat all the Amadars. So there's lots of nice ideas, isn't it? And then, do you want to describe board 2, so it's not just all me describing?
Yeah, well, board 2 quickly goes on. This is where the Amadar name comes from, and it's a Japanese kind of puzzle drawing game called Amada Kuji, and basically it uses deterministic algorithms where your pig at the top of the screen, there's what, an excess of 5 or 6 starting points, right? And you have to, it rapidly moves across them, and you have to really quickly think. There's the bit to collect at the bottom, and if you choose, say, route 3, you have to look at the path of least resistance as it moves down, right? Because the first nexus in the line, the pig will go along and down. It could be to the right, it could be to the left. So it forces you to quickly think. So is there luck or what? I don't know.
I just guessed a random one and lost every time.
I panic hit, and it's only one times in 1,000 that I actually be able to collect at the bottom. But it's a nice change that the game isn't just doing a rinse and repeat right back to the
and thankfully stage. It's a bonus one, isn't it?
It's a bonus one, that's correct, yeah.
And then on board 3 is actually my favourite.
Yeah, I'm with you there.
You're like a paint roller, and it's this time you can only do, because of like the paint, you only have so much sort of like paint from the original lines that you draw. So you're sort of drawing onto the maze. It's like a painting section, but you can only do adjacent boxes to the one that's already painted, to the one that you filled out, and each box has a number of points. And I really like it because it becomes quite tactical. Because you've got to, do you make boxes all connected all the way up to the top? Or do you do the different tactics of how you're going to fill it up and things? Yeah,
this level feels more closer to Kix, as in QIX, than the first level does, doesn't it?
Yeah, definitely. And I really like it. There's just so many nuances with it, and it's just, I just think this is a game that, I mean, it is, I guess it's quite well known, but it goes off people's radar a lot, doesn't it? I mean, it's certainly not as famous as your Pac-Man and things like that. And I think it deserves to. I think there's, given that this was 1981, this does so much more than Pac-Man and games of that ilk, in my opinion. It really, I think, a lot more fun, to be honest. Than
I like Pac-Man. It. I mean, Pac-Man is obviously an iconic classic and always will remain that. But this, I think there's just a bit more to the game. I don't get as bored with it. And Pac-Man, as great as it is, I could never stick at that and decide I want to get a high score. I just feel there's a repetition that just is a bit of a grind. Whereas this, I find it a lot more fun. There's something a bit more therapeutic about filling in the boxes, especially on the third board with the paint roller, just having to go back over the paint trail again. You can't go too far from where you've spilled the paint, basically. That's what it comes down to. And it's just very deeply satisfying seeing the boxes on the game, that playfield, all fill up. And then you've not played it that great, or you've not thought about it that well, that you've really left the hardest area to fill, haven't you? I mean, I'm not the greatest player at it, and there will be tactics to completing these different boards readily and maximising your score, but doing it and trying it is great fun.
Oh yeah, I mean, I saw reading up on some of the things, that there's certain patterns, a bit like Pac-Man. There's certain patterns with how the enemies, the Amadars, move. But yeah, I mean, for me, it's just all about the fun. It really is. I love the game. It's one that I'm definitely became a firm favourite this time in
good.
Arcade Club, and one that definitely when I'm like cranking up MAME, it will be one that I will always put on now. I think now I've learned how to play it a little bit better.
I never saw this in my arcades back in the day. I was only familiar with it from the Atari 2600 version.
Yeah,
because
it didn't get many. I mean, that port was probably the best known, isn't it? But it didn't really get many ports, and yeah, I mean, you got lots of knockoff variants of it, but no, I love it. I mean, I love all the little touches, like when you when on that opening board, when you like get the 4 boxes, when you eat them, they're sort of like you knock them off the board and they're like hanging on for dear life, isn't it? And then eventually they're dropped down. Just all these little touches, and the pigs as well. It's a similar thing. They're just on that level when you fill out certain boxes. There's just so much like fun and characters, and seeing them all jump. And things like that.
What do you think about that mechanic? Because obviously, then, if you compare it to say Pac-Mania, where Pac-Man jumps, do you think there is that much difference in making the main character jump versus making everyone else jump? Is there really? Does it? I mean, okay, you can maybe, if you're lucky enough, there's 2 of them crossing each other, and you can make them both jump, and you can get under them. But I can't even remember now. Do you get points when you go under them when they jump?
It's very seldom look at the points. No, I don't think you do. It just slows them down, doesn't it? I'm too busy concentrating on surviving, let alone looking at the points. They don't. I would prefer if you jump, and there's times when it wasn't that useful.
but timing's everything, because you make them jump, and if you're not doing it at the very last minute, they're landing again, and they land on top of you.
Yeah, it's so more difficult to use, but it is part of the charm, and it's something that makes it different from your other like Pac-Man and Pac-Manias. It's an interesting, unique mechanic that they decided to go a different way, and I quite like that. But I really like this. I thought it's one.
No, I was walking by it and just ignoring it. It was you that dragged me over it. Come on, we need to we started entering a discussion at Arcade Club, but we need to choose some lesser spoken about games this time round that as part of the episode, not just speak about Arcade Club. Let's choose 6 of our chosen games. And I'm glad you pulled me across. Grabbed me by the wrist, by the way. It was like a reprimanded pupil in a class by an angry school teacher. Come see this. Dragged across to it, and you know what? It was great. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, no, and that's it. I mean, and that's what with all these games that we sort of have hit on, and to us, a lot of the games that were new that were mentioned at the end, it's just wonderful to sort of see that there's ones that I've always never would have bothered with. Because not all of these that were new, they've been there previous times, and I've not really got into, but did this time, and it was fantastic. Yeah. Right, so as we go on to the second game then.
Yes, please.
So, as you heard with that sound effects, you have Motos. This is a really interesting one. Came out in 1985 and done by Namco, but I'm going to pass it to you to explain this one.
Okay. Well, this initially, I mean, before we go into the game, I never saw this in the world either. I've been looking for it for years because there was brilliant 8-bit ports of this back in the day.
Yeah.
Now, back when Binary Design, who done lots of brilliant games for the Spectrum, Commodore and Amstrad, they Mastertronic got some licenses. You know, all the big boys were getting arcade game licenses, and you didn't really hear the budget labels getting them. So at this point, both it was Binary Design as well. They released a fantastic version of Bosconian, which I actually prefer over the arcade version, would you believe, right? But Motos is another one by them with excellent music by the fantastic Tim Follen on 8-bits. No, obviously I had the Spectrum version, and I adored this game. Absolutely adored it. Played the hell out of it when I got it, and just loved the arcade element. So what is it? It is a bumping game, right? So you control the Motos craft, and you're pretty much on this floating tiled island in space, okay?
Yeah.
Where the void, if you want to call it that, is down below. And there's these bugs and whatnot and spheres on each of the levels that want to nudge and knock you. So it's a kind of inertia, dodge and bumping game where you have to survive and knock your enemies over the edge into the void, into the chasm of space, if you want. And it's great fun because the way you play it, I remember walking up to this with you. Let's play this one, and it was great. I don't recall. Maybe it was. I mean, sometimes I just walk past things, but was it new here this year?
It's new. Yeah, this was new. This wasn't.
Yeah. And of course, I mean, I would have been singing its praises if it was there years prior, but the tactile feel of this, you really do, and I feel sorry for the joystick on this game because you're using brute force and bumping and continually. You have to use tactic of swerving round. They'll take a nudge at you, they miss you, and they're closer to the edge, so you go around the back of them and nudge them off the edge.
It's a unique idea, isn't it? And it plays really well. Yeah.
As levels progress, there's holes in the centre of the thing. And imagine a 1970s stereotypical disco floor. All the tiles change and flash different colours. But there's power-ups to collect on each of the levels as well. So there's nudge strength, okay? And there's also jump as well, which is very handy. So on the start of a new level or at the end when you've lost a life, it asks you how much of these energy pellets you want to use. And obviously, for each one, you become more stronger in your nudging. So if you choose 4 pellets, you bump into one of them, and they're going bloody flying off into space. But conserve your pellets for the levels that are more difficult. So there's a bit of knowing what's coming up next, I think, as well, when you get to know the game. But the jumping mechanic's really good because when you leap in the air, it creates a crack in the tile. If you land on it again, it creates a void. So you can tactfully create your own areas where you want to try and knock them into. It's just brilliant fun. Absolutely love Motos, and if you've never played it, you need to fire us up on MAME.
It is. I was really blown away. I mean, interestingly, when I was reading up on it, it didn't really. In the arcade, it didn't get released outside of Japan, pretty much.
All right.
And that was because, because of the video game crash, and it just was a bad time. But you of course did get the home ports, which were really fantastic home ports, and in many ways, it's a very strange arcade game, isn't it? When you think it's more suited to a home computer game in many ways.
It's something you think you would expect, even aesthetically, on the Amiga.
Yeah. I mean, it was, but it's a really. I mean, I know it's a game that you've mentioned on the Spectrum, and I sort of knew it a little bit from that, but I didn't really. When I first went up to it, I didn't twig it was the game that you've been raving about on the Spectrum, like when we did our top 100 and things, or top 40. I'm pretty sure you mentioned it then. And when I first tried it, I was like, I don't even because of course it doesn't play how you would think it plays. You assume it would be shooting, but actually, once you sit down and you understand the concept that it's all about knocking, bumper carring people off this sort of disco floor, and then and then as you play it a little bit further, you understand that you can upgrade your craft, and the jump mechanic becomes really important because the crack tiles, there's some things that are indestructible, and the only way of destroying them is by cracking the tiles, like luring them to the cracked tiles, and then they fall through. And I really like it. It's a really unique game, and it's one that it's not really been sort of like. I've not seen like copycats or anything particularly of Motos. There's not like
not at all. There's nothing else like it.
Yeah, and you can imagine this would be brilliant for like like a modern indie game or something like that. I was really pleased. This was one that I think I asked you a question of saying, well, can you explain how to actually play this, Kingy? Because I wasn't entirely sure. And then once you were like telling me a little bit of the history of it and stuff in the Spectrum version, and once we got into it, it was like, oh, this is fantastic. And this is another one, and again, it just shows you, doesn't it, how wonderfully vast the arcade library is. I mean, there's just so many ones that you probably wouldn't even necessarily give it a second glance. When you're going through MAME or what have you, because there's so much choice.
Yeah, or even in attract mode in the arcade, right? It might not sell it because seeing a video playback, if you want to call it that, or running through a loop showing you how to play the game, until you put your hand on that joystick and actually play it yourself, and then it takes on a
and understand it. You've got to play it a few times to understand it, or be lucky enough to have someone like Kingy explaining what the hell you're doing.
What I like about it, though, Paul, in that point is, it's not just playing the game. We had a little retro chat about it and memories, saying the Spectrum version, and and it brought back a lot of memories for me back in the day playing it. I just think it's one of the best arcade conversions, even on the Spectrum, that doesn't get spoken about. So it's not just an arcade game; it's just the game that time forgot, and it's fantastic.
Yeah, no, I mean, this was a real great discovery for me. To like, once I understood how to play it, it's one that I played an awful lot on the weekend, and very keen when I get a chance to put it on MAME, whereas it always passed by because you look at it and it just didn't quite get what I was supposed to do, because it is, you just assume it's another. You naturally assume you've got to shoot them, obviously. Why is the shooting button not working? Yeah. So, this is one that I definitely urge our listeners to, put on MAME and give a go, and give yourself that little bit of time to enjoy and learn the game. Yep. Yeah. Awesome. Any more you want to say about Motos?
Yeah, I'm all good.
No, I think we're good. Right, so we go on to the third game then, and this was your choice, wasn't it, Kingy? And it's a good one. I did get into it a little bit more playing it. It is Star Castle.
I could tell with the tones. I'm not as keen on this one, Tone.
Motos. I was much more happy with Motos, but no, this is visually quite impressive, and I did enjoy it, but I didn't perhaps get into it as much as any of the others. Okay. This is Star Castle, and it came out in 1980 by Cinematronics. Yeah, and I'm going to pass it to you again, actually, because it was your choice, and you're probably better explaining it.
Okay, so I'm a sucker for the old school vector games. There's something very aesthetically pleasing about this period, where you're playing Tempest, where you're playing Black Widow.
Yeah, both fantastic games.
Absolutely, right. Or even the Star Wars arcade, obviously, as well, right? Absolutely fantastic. So I suppose in some ways this is just a slight... It's like Tempest meets Asteroids to a certain degree. So the Star Castle is a craft in the centre of the game, and like all these vector games on this one, it was black and white. It had overlays. So the one in Arcade Club doesn't have any overlays on it. So it was completely, it was a green screen, green monitor, or a black and white one. I can't even bloody remember now.
Sort of green, wasn't it? All the
things.
But it's still visually impressive.
It's visual. I love the bloom and just the way vector games work. There's something very special about them for me. So the Star Castle in the centre is surrounded by 3 concentric rings that rotate round in different directions. One goes clockwise. The
they're
next one
force fields, aren't they?
Yeah, they're force fields. And you have to penetrate that barrier to destroy the castle. But I suppose rather than calling it a circle force field, they're made of individual different lines, so it's almost octagonal, or or however many lines make up the circle. So for each one of these you hit, they break up, leaving a gap in a penetrable gap in the force field is the best way to describe it. But on some of these lines, there's homing missiles or mines, if you want to call it that you'll release them if you shoot that particular line that they're sitting on, and they'll shoot towards us. So there's a whole asteroids kind of inertia that I think really works really well. It's not overly floaty, it's very controllable, that you get the hang of it. Now, the arcade machine has no joystick, so it has a rotate left and right button, and then there's a thrust and a fire. So there's 4 actual buttons on the arcade machine. So don't expect a joystick. So if you're playing at home, it works really well with a joystick on your MAME cabs or whatever. It's perfectly fine. But I quite like going down the purist route. If it's a button driven game, I want to map the buttons like that on my controller stick. I don't know if you're the same.
I'm
yourself,
the same,
Paul.
Yeah, same with Pac-Land, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Pac-Land's a very good example of that. So don't just keep shooting. Pew, 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 pew. Because what happens is, you shoot enough of the force field, it just rebuilds again, and you're never going to penetrate. So there's a kind of patience thing where, break half the segment on one, and then another one break another half of the segment, and when it all rotates round, and eventually the gaps all align, and that's when you fire into the Star Castle. But line of sight, as the crow flies, it shoots a mega blast out at you when it sees you, so you have to swerve and avoid. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the game. But it's a vector game. It's bloody fantastic.
I mean, and the thing is, it's so easy to just camp, isn't it? And then you die, because
Exactly.
because it's got the inertia.
Yeah.
And then of course you're releasing the mines, as you say, so that's difficult because they're basically like homing missiles. They will come flying towards you, and you've got to like shoot them to sort of make them safe, and then you get like the points. And it is that there's something compelling about it, but I guess I find other vector games, like we mentioned, like Black Widow or Tempest, or even like Asteroids, which is probably its closest thing to, there's more to it. There's more desire to move around. It was a little bit fast, you're moving, where by the time you've actually controlled your craft back to some semblance, this was for me, I'm sure like an expert player would be like, what are you on about? But for me, it was like, when you did move or do any movement, it because of the inertia and the speed, by the time you finally line yourself back up to be somewhat useful again, you're not really saved anything, because 1, the force field's just rebuilt itself, and 2, you end up camping again because you think, oh, I'm not going to do that again. So you're no better off really, because you still got the homing missiles coming at you.
No, I agree with you. Do I know the tactics to be excellent in this game? No. But it's a right old school one. That's the whole point about it.
And it's a vector game we've not talked about. There's not. I mean, I think we've been pretty good talking about pretty much every vector game.
I would have loved to have done an episode exclusive on all vector games, but the trouble is, we've individually covered them over the years, that it would just be,
it'd be retreading old ground, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Now,
I covered this in the remakes episode ages ago, because I was lucky enough that my arcade back in the day back home did have this in here. And there's a friend of mine called Soren Borquist that, I'll put this in the show notes, but he makes a brilliant modern day PC version of it to play on your computer. I think he's got a Mac version as well, so it's not just for Windows, if I remember correctly. But I'll put a link on the show notes for that, for the listeners to try out. And it's fantastic, absolutely fantastic to play, because he colours in the vectors in colour rather than a simulated overlay, so you don't need that in modern age. Each of the different layers of the force field are all different colours, so it's well worth firing this up and giving it a go.
Yeah, I've heard good things about the Vectrix version, and of course this. I mean, some of the things that I've found out about this game is interesting. It's cool that it's appeared in a lot of movies like Fast Times at Ridgemont High, Rocky 3, Joysticks. One of my guilty pleasure movies is Joysticks. I know I've talked about it before. Have you actually ever watched it?
I've still avoided it to this day.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm going to say to our listeners that perhaps missed me mentioning it in other episodes. Joysticks came out in, I think it was 1983, and it is one of those where it's cheesily acting. It's obviously it's down with the when you had all these sort of like, you know, you got bouncing boobs and like poor jokes that don't land, and you know, it's a bit like, I don't know, Porky's but not as good, like a Porky knockoff. But one of the cool things about Joysticks is obviously it's all based around an arcade, and being set in 1983. It of course is a wonderful look at a 1983 arcade, and it has like loads of interesting arcade games, to the point where there is someone in America that's actually recreated his like basement to look exactly like Joysticks, the movie, with all the, he's managed to like collect up all the arcade machines. But you know, it's worth watching just to see all these, you know, arcade machines as they were meant to, you know, as they were back in 1983. Yeah. So, yeah, this also appeared in Maximum Overdrive and High School High as well. So it's had a lot of, and even in Ghostbusters as well.
Was it?
Yeah, but the other thing that was interesting, this is probably more interesting, is basically they tried to do a 2600 version of Star Castle, and it failed. You know, in terms
no
of
shit, Sherlock.
Yeah. But of course they did it more like, you know, using 2D rather than things.
Yeah.
But out of the ashes of that's how Yar's Revenge, which of course is a classic, was basically from the failed attempt of the 2600 version of Star Castle, and they sort of took the general bits and took it further. I mean, obviously made a completely new game, but it was like the building blocks that gave them the idea, which I thought was quite interesting. So that's kind of like cool. So, but yeah, I mean, it's done by, you know, Tim Skelly, and he did a lot of other Vector games like War of the Worlds and things like that, and that. But yeah, I think it's an interesting arcade game. Probably, I would say for me the weakest of the list, but mostly because and it's a really strong list is one factor, but also I think there's just not a lot to it. Once you get the hang of it, it didn't seem to, you know, when I've watched videos of people far more skilled, it doesn't seem to change that much.
No, it doesn't. No.
As you play through. So, but yeah, no, interesting game. I'm glad it's on the list. Right, shall we go on to our next game then?
Definitely.
Yeah, so this is a real favourite. It is Zookeeper, that came out in 1982 by Taito, and this was a real hit. It was one of the ones on the list, wasn't it, that we put?
Yes, it was. It was a high score list game. Yeah.
List. I'll mention this one then, and then I'll let you chip in, Kingy, with all the bits I've missed off. Yeah, so basically you play Zeke the Zookeeper. So you play this little guy. The idea is that the naughty animals have kidnapped Zelda, your girlfriend, and so you must, one, stop the animals from escaping, and then go on to other sections where you're rescuing your girlfriend. And the concept's really interesting. It's a really interesting, well thought out game. So the first one, as you run round a square, you're building up a wall that is keeping the animals in. But you kind of, if you're going for score, you kind of want to let them out because you get points for jumping over them. And there's power-ups like a net that allows you to capture them and put them back in. But also there's there's almost like a Mission Impossible dynamite like burning down that will show you when you will get the power-ups. So it'd be like, a beer to help quench your thirst, or a 4-leaf clover, or whatever it is. And that's kind of, that's also important if you're going for points. And the idea is you just got to try and keep as many in the compound for by the end to get the bonus points. So you kind of want to let them out so you can jump over as many as possible. Make sure you collect all the pick-me-ups, but then get the net and capture them all to put them back in before the end to get the maximum number of points. So it's a really interesting sort of first opening level. And then you go to the second level, which is the naughty monkey has kidnapped your Zelda, your girlfriend. And the idea is these are like moving platforms, but they also start disappearing at the bottom, isn't it? So that's the thing. And
it's a bit like Jumping Jack.
It's a bit like Jumping Jack, which we talked on the Spectrum episode, isn't it?
Yeah.
And on this one, all my life used to go on this one because I really struggled with it to get the flow of it.
It's a fun level.
It's a fun level. You've got all these coconuts flying down. There's things that you're picking up. But because it's moving, you're sort of like jumping to the top, and then if you reach the princess, a bit like in Donkey Kong, she says "my hero," and then you've done the level, and then it'll repeat through, and then it does the third section, isn't it, where you basically have to, this time you're rescuing Zelda again, your girlfriend, which I think is a bit careless of you. You've only just rescued her. and then you have to rescue her again.
You've lost her all over
again. And with this, it's I guess it's in a shopping centre or something. There's animals that you have to jump over, and then you have to go up the escalators and then jump over the animals again.
You've not seen that? It's based on the Hollywood movies. Zoo in the Mall. You've not seen that?
I have not seen it.
Came out the same year.
Okay.
Came out the same year.
I made that shit up.
I made that shit up, and you're believing me there.
I was thinking, why have I not seen this movie? It sounds like, why? And I will say now, why is there not a movie about Zoo in the Mall? That would be awesome. I'm disappointed now. I was all set to download that and watch that.
I bet it does exist.
No, this is a really fun game. It's got loads of just neat ideas, isn't it? And it's a great game to play for high score because it has all these tricks and things. And some of our listeners were really going in depth, playing it. They really put huge amounts of time. I mean, what do you feel about the game before I say a little bit more?
Absolutely love this. The thing about it's a quick fix game as well. You can rack up the high score and you get through about 5, 6, 7 levels, and then you die and it's the next person's turn to go and try and better your score, which makes it quite sociable in that respect. Unless you're hardcore and you're on it for 4 hours solid.
Yeah.
Then that's when everybody watching you goes, well, I'm not going to compete with that, and just move on. But the best thing about a new chosen game, the game of the, and this is to me the game. It was
the game of the year,
weekend.
wasn't it? Yeah, it was the game of the weekend.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic. So I had a number of goes at home to try to get to grips with the mechanics before come to Arcade Club and playing it. But it's always the same. The joystick's better because it's just a 4-way joystick.
Yeah.
At Arcade Club, and it just works so well. And the graphics, I mean, it's an old game, right? So, in the early 80s game, you can imagine the type of graphics on it. But the characterizations, you've got the snakes, the rhinos, the lions later on, which are, if you can capture a lion, per lion, you get 30,000 points per lion. But that's on a right later level. I mean, it's just difficult to get to there in the first place because you have to survive. This is the point. And I think my failing on this game is the Friday night, my first go, I got my highest score I've ever achieved on the game, right, on my first go.
Yeah.
And after that, I got nowhere near it. So was it something like, I think it was something like 170,000 or something I got in it, right? Turnbull, he's just a freaking show off anyway. He was like 210 or something, but it's like...
He did play it a lot, in fairness. He really...
I was playing it a lot as well, but I think what I would say about this game yet is I'm inconsistent in my achievement of scores in it. I can play it sometimes and only get 30,000. Play it other times, get nearer, 90. And then just 2,000 and you bugger it up. It's just so difficult. But the levels don't really change that much. I mean, so for example, when you allow the wall to deteriorate and allow the zoo animals to escape, okay, you can influence the direction they run round clockwise or counterclockwise depending on where you stand. Basically, they will run away from you. So if you're close to them, they'll go away from you. You know what I mean? And whatever the furthest away direction they can go. So you need to quite understand that where the breach will be. So you will get better points if they're all running in one direction and you're leaping over them. What I've also discovered by accident is that when a collectible comes up, so you know it appear on the Mission Impossible Fuse timeline, like you said. So if it's an ice cream sundae or a root beer, it says in the instruction. It's always, Americans are obsessed with root beer. Root beer is shite. It tastes like Listerine. It's foul.
Oh no, I quite like
disgusting.
root beer, but I do feel with root beer that I certainly can't have it now. I'm diabetic.
That's what gave you your diabetes in the first place.
I do love root beer though. Root beer with ice cream. Oh my word,
root beer float. Oh no, thank you.
I tell you, it's a good job I don't live in America because I would go crazy with all the
You would be dead.
I'd be dead, yeah. Death. But death by snacks. There's worse ways to go.
You'd be at Fun Spot on a wheelchair because you were too heavy to walk.
Yeah, I would.
So when you jump over an animal and then collect an object, the score doubles, I think. So there are nuances to discover by serendipity in the game anyway, but it's fun. The journey's fun doing it. And then there's the level you said, the jumping jack level where you have to rescue Zelda. So all the coconuts are going in random directions, and there's also the lure of collectibles again to up your score, especially the trophy. You get 10,000 points. Now, it would be sitting on a horizontally moving platform, wouldn't it? So it's a risk and reward. Do I dare go for it or just go straight for rescuing your girlfriend? So it's got all that. Same with the escalator level. The longer you stay on each level, there's more animals that come out. I mean, Noah's Ark never looked so bloody empty, did it? And the more you jump over, the more points you get, but it gets too busy. There's only small gaps. Can you time
it gets
jump
really
perfectly?
Frantic if you're good.
It gets frantic, yeah. Now, what I did see, I've never reached it, by the way. So after the lion level, right, and you go back to the other, the standard pen that animals in, the next platform level is invisible platforms. It's like, wow, that would be nigh on impossible. But the game is fun. I absolutely love this game. To me, I'm getting the same vibes and the same thrill from previous years when we so got into playing Food Fight. It's off that kind of era and is just addictive as hell. So simple in so many ways, and I just can't get enough of it.
Yeah, no, I really love it. And, interestingly, although it's a Taito game, it's actually one of the few Taito games that was done in America, not in... So, up there with Kicks and Space Dungeon being the other Taito games. Brilliant. And this is done by John Morgan. He's the guy behind Indie Heat and Iron Man Stewart games.
All right, yeah.
Went on to work with Leyland doing those games. And... this is just really, really good game, really addictive. Interesting, it was going to be completely different. It was going to be a game called King Crab, and you were a crab, and you were like trying to get eggs that were escaping. It didn't sort of make sense, and eventually they sort of like no, this isn't working. But the concept of like a wall, you know, they had the concept of building a wall, and then it sort of just naturally made sense. Well, if you're building a wall, what are you? Oh, you must be a zookeeper. Let's make animals rather than eggs, and you know, it'd be more interesting. And then they sort of built the game up from there. But it's like interesting to see the evolving.
I think so. Yeah,
game design. Yeah,
it would never have worked in any other way. They've perfected it, and the concept and the design is as much as the gameplay may be very much the same, but the appeal. The penning in of animals and whatnot makes more sense being a zookeeper, the net appearing, you know, such a cartoon comedic type thing. They run about with a net to capture the animals to put them in. I would love to see anyone try to net a rhino. I mean, come on. Good luck with that, mate.
But that's the thing, isn't it? Is, you know, you don't want like realism. You just
you don't.
It's got the good arcade loop, and I love the concept with the jumping for points. You know, playing it. You know, if you are playing it for points, you play it a whole different way. Really,
the best games in life don't have guns. I'm telling you that right now. They never do. There's Motos, right?
Yeah,
and there's Zookeeper. To me, they're far better than.
Yeah, because Amandar doesn't have a gun. No,
I'm telling you, I've always been like, don't do guns. Don't do guns, kids.
Although some of the other ones that we were about to cover do have guns, and they're also really good.
They're awesome. Of course they are, but, yeah.
Okay, is there any more you want to say about a Zookeeper? Real classic.
It's awesome. Play it. Awesome. Play it now.
Yeah, probably I would say the favourite of the evening. What we're talking about, I think. Yeah. Although this second one is, or the next one.
Second, we're jumping back in time, are we?
The next one is close second. I really love this one as well. Right, as you heard there, and this is Vindicators. It came out in 1988 by Atari, and it's got that beautiful sort of like Atari sound effects and look and feel.
It's got Atari everything to it.
I'm going to pass it to you to explain this one, and then we can talk about it. So do you want to explain it to our listeners?
Yeah, another game that I've been searching for years in the arcades. Now, I first saw screenshots of this on one of the rare occasions I bought the Computer and Video Games magazine, because it had a great arcade section, if you recall, right? And it shows you all the screenshots. You just drooled over these, and I I prayed to the arcade gods, right? All the arcade gods that ever existed, that this game would come to my local arcade. But it never did. And only recently, in recent years, it came to Play Expo.
Yeah.
A number of years back when I was there. I had great fun playing it. Now, basically, it's a top-down tank game with a sort of pseudo 3D look to it. And you can play in two-player mode. And it is... People that have played Zybots, you can see it's been built on a similar engine, don't you, Paul, to the fantastic Zybots, right? And yet again, with Atari. Atari were kings of the bespoke game controller for these games. So it does come with tank controls for both the players. Now, obviously, then you imagine it with a tank. You push two sticks to go forwards, you push two sticks to go backwards, or one up, one down to rotate left or right, you know. Also, on top, there are fire buttons for rotating the turret. You don't earn that until you collect enough stars before you can buy it in the shop at the end of each level. So, initially, you can only rotate the whole tank. Once you get that power up, brilliant. You can rotate the tank and rotate the turret, which gives you a bit more versatility and
I didn't like using it. You confused me more than I.
It does confuse. I'm a bit. the minute it doesn't point forwards and you're trying to run forwards, it's like, oh shit, my weapon's not facing the way I want it to be. But aesthetically, it's very pleasing, isn't it? The look of the game. It's typically Atari of its time, and they run with an engine, or if you want to call it a board or hardware, for a while, and things sound and kind of look a bit similar, but they're so good at not rehashing the same game. So you'll hear pokey elements of, say, Road Blasters and Zybots in the game, but you've not played a game like this, just a good top-down tank blaster game that's great fun to play with 2 players. There's oncoming tanks, there's turrets that pop up from the ground, and then you try shooting them, they shrink down to protect their vulnerable parts. But ultimately, there's a kind of gauntlet element to the game as well, isn't there, Paul?
Snaffling all the food.
Snaffling all the food. And there's keys to find to get out of the game as each of the level. Then it goes to the shop, depends on the stars. You can buy force fields, the speed of your tank, how far your shots go up the screen and whatnot. And as the levels progress, and I love the look, a lot of the floors look like PCB boards, don't they?
Yeah, like Tron or something like that.
Yeah. It's very futuristic in that way, but it's a very tactile game, incredible to play. That it's very good if you've got an Xbox controller or a PlayStation
twin stick controller,
twin stick, right? It plays perfectly well at home. This is something that, albeit great with the big muckle controls that you can use.
Yeah, because you can use the small shoulder buttons to do the rotating of the turret if you want, isn't it? And then you're right, you've got the twin sticks to do all your controls. Yeah,
because obviously it came out in one of the Atari collections on the PlayStation, didn't it, back in the past as well? So it was good to play in that if you want to play it, inverted commas, legitimately back home. But I just love the whole environment that you drive the tank in and shoot. It's fun to play. It's typically Atari of its time, and all the better for it, I would say.
Yeah, no, I really fell in love with this. I love the fact that you got the fuel that's basically your energy, the stars. It's got that element of Zybots where, in between levels, you can choose, well, what am I going to upgrade my craft? So there's that feeling of progression.
Yeah.
You get to annoy your friends like Kingy by going around and collecting all the stars.
Yeah.
Because when we were playing, wasn't it? It took you a little bit longer. I mean, you got there at the end, but with getting used to the twin stick controls. So there was me like at the beginning until you got used to it. I was like whizzing around, and the stars are there. You just
for collecting. Yeah.
You were there bouncing into a wall trying to get used to it.
I'm doing all the shooting, right, and just killing all the bad guys. You're doing all the collecting. It's like, well, that's cooperation for you, isn't it?
Well, it's an important part, yeah. No, it's a really... I really enjoyed this. It's very unique. It does play quite well at home if you're going to play, but to play it on the real arcade sticks and have that, that feeling of the arcades...
It's a whole unique looking arcade cab altogether, isn't it? It's not just a standard cab either. It's a weird shaped thing.
And I just love, as I say, it mixes in elements of Gauntlet, Zybots, which of course Zybots was kind of like supposed to be Gauntlet 3. I love the fact that there's certain enemies, like the turrets, it has like a number on it, so you have to hit it so many times, or as you get more powerful, it will do it in one hit, depending on how powerful your gun is. Yeah, I love the bonus levels where you, because we didn't realise when we first went in, isn't it? You sort of like go into the
enemy
base, and then you're like, oh, lots of stars. You're happily collecting.
There's a countdown timer,
and then there's a countdown timer, and it will like actually speak it out, isn't it? And then if you don't get through the door, and the trouble is you have to go through a unique door. Like if you could be perhaps following like Kingy, and he goes through the door, and it's shut, and you're like, oh, bugger! You got to turn around and can't go that way.
That's right.
Go and find another way. And but there's just a lot of variety. It's great, seeing as you go to each station, because it's quite a big game, really. The amount of stations and things you go through, and everything just has its own unique look and feel.
It does. There's no level that really looks the same. I mean, okay, you maybe get the printed circuit board or a checkerboard floor, but each level does bring something a little bit more fresh that you hadn't quite seen before. And it just makes the addicted to the progression of the game. I don't think it's a game you're not interested in the score at all.
No, it's just progression, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
But I do prefer this because, of course, like Assault came out the same year by Atari, and a very similar concept, twin stick control. I think this is by far the better game, in my opinion.
Very much so, yeah.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it, and this was another one that was new to Arcade Club. It wasn't there before. They've had Assault for years, but not Arcade Club. And yeah, I just really enjoyed it. I mean, I didn't just play it with you over the weekend. I played it with a couple of our listeners, and I played it with Charlie and stuff like that. And and partly that. The reason for that was just introducing them to, because it's a game that I didn't check actually what ports it had, but I don't think it had many that I'm aware of. Did it with Vindicators?
I had it on the Spectrum.
Yeah, I also did have a couple of things, but they're not the same, is it? Without the twin stick controls, it's just not.
No, it worked best. I mean, in a minute, it only works with twin stick controls. Anything else is just pales in comparison.
And of course, this is done by Kelly Turner, who she designed and programmed along with like Norm Avalar, but and then Rusty Dawn, a lot of like Atari veterans. I mean, Kelly Turner was involved with games like Super Sprint, Champion Sprint, Batman game in the arcades, Off the Wall, and which is interesting. Going back to the Atari DLC, Off the Wall is one of the games there, which is an interesting game. But yeah, no, I really enjoyed this one. I thought it was solid and definitely one that people don't think to play these days.
Yeah. I've came across it just while looking at information on this, and there's a brilliant blog on OssieGamer.com by a fella that does a whole restoration project on Vindicators, and it's well written, and he's went from just some discarded, very poor condition arcade cab, bringing it back up to fully working again. So if anyone's
beautiful
interested
when you see
in
that, yeah,
yeah,
put it
I'll
in the
put
show
that on the show notes, yeah.
But yeah, no, I thought it's although it's in the same concept, as you get a little further on, you get things like sort of like lifts and things that take you to other sections of the map, and it's just and I love the concept like we have with Zybots of like building up your character and stuff. This is it's just a fantastic game.
Brilliant game.
Right, so we go on to our final game.
Yeah, we're there already. And this is an interesting one as well. It's I've not really played it much at all until at Arcade Club. It is Solar Fox. Came out in 1981 by Bally Midway. And it's really weird, this game, isn't it? It's sort of, so you've got a grid and you've got enemies. It's a bit like Grid Runner in this respect, isn't it? Well, you certainly influenced Minter's Grid Runner. That's his take on this game.
Yeah, exactly. So basically, you got these enemies sort of firing at you from they're going along the edges, and you basically, it's like Pac-Man. You're collecting up all these sort of like, I don't know what they are. These like
Furzers, if you want to call it
Furzers. Okay, whatever that is.
Furzers.
Yeah. And
electrical orbs is the best way to describe.
Orbs, thank you. Yeah, keep it naughty language for me. And you can either like run over them, shoot them. You got like a limited shot that you can fire, or you can. There's also a turbo boost button, isn't it, that lets you go run around faster. And that's it, really. Just each board has different layouts. There's these bigger glowy orbs, isn't it, and things that appear that you've got to dodge, and you've got obviously the things firing at you, and it quickly gets very, very hectic. But I really quite enjoyed with this one. I mean, do you want to describe it a bit more?
Yeah, sure. I mean, as you said, it's a grid-based game, right? So you can only run on the lines of the grid. Now, each level has these furzers, electrical orbs, and a very sort of, pleasing arrangement. And the idea is to collect them all. You can either drive over them, fly over them if you want, or shoot them. You can also use your bullets to your advantage as well. But you're right, on the horizontal left and right and on the vertical left and right, the minute you become in line with one of the Guardians there, they will blast their bullets along that grid. So it's a bit like, I suppose in some ways, it's very Tron-like in some ways, you know. You've got to avoid them on that grid, or you can shoot the bullets as well that come towards you. But it requires fast reflexes or the use of the turbo boost. Or both combined, basically, and it's really enjoyable. I really like this game, and there's bonus levels every so many waves that you have to fly in turbo boost to collect.
Turbo boost to collect it all before the timer runs out, isn't it?
That's right. You can. There's 2 different skill levels in the game. You can choose a higher skill level where you get more points for, but you're permanently flying in turbo boost mode, so you don't use that button to go any faster. Right, but that's for us amateurs, Paul.
Yeah,
that ain't happening,
I'd avoid that one. Yeah. No, I really liked it because it's unique, and this is one that I've not really played properly at all. This one, it's just one I've probably seen it on MAME or whatever. Certainly never seen it in the wild or anything. I don't remember it being on any of the compilations, but I might have skipped over it, like the Midway compilations.
Yeah.
But,
it's quite a coincidence that you've chosen this. I mean, it's a game I know of, and I've played it enough times on MAME, but because I've been reviewing games for the Spectrum Next, there's a game called Tavarium, and I've just reviewed Tavarium 2, which is Solar Fox on steroids for the Spectrum Next. It's really great fun to play. I recommend anyone who's got a Spectrum Next to give this a try. It's done by Rusty Pixels, but it's great seeing the Origin game, because it's an important game in its timeline, I think. I mean, well, clearly Minter came across this because if it wasn't for this, you wouldn't have had Gridrunner.
Yeah, exactly.
Gridrunner, is more Centipede. Right.
Yes, he's, but the concept of these Guardians,
is both games have had influence. Yeah, so it's really good. I just find that I like how the different waves, the layout is completely different. It gives a different challenge to the player. You have to kind of tactfully play it in a different way, just simply because of where the layouts are. A lot of the orbs to collect are very dangerously close to the Guardian, so you really have to quickly think how you're going to play this level, and it's tough and it's challenging, but really addictive. And to be honest, the arcade version there, because it's a very big, it's almost like it feels like it's an analog joystick, doesn't it? Not that it is. It's just a big joystick, basically, a bit like the Tron joystick. If you think it like that, the fire button is actually on the actual stick itself. But what brilliant game! Really brilliant.
Yeah, I had real fun with it. Yeah, I thought this was really, really solid, interesting game. That's one of the things I just love with Arcade Club, or even when you do those Voyage of Discoveries going through like MAME libraries and stuff. There's so many wonderful games out there, isn't it? There really is. I mean, you could lose a lifetime just playing.
Oh, absolutely,
yeah. No, this is I really enjoyed, and it was great. So, is there any more you want to say about this game before we talk about some of the other interesting?
Let's go into the games other games I want to talk about briefly.
Yeah, well, only briefly. So this is so there was quite a few new ones in Arcade Club, which was great to see. For me, the standout ones was I really enjoyed Junior Pac-Man. They finally got Junior Pac-Man there. They also had a baby Pac-Man, which is like a mixture of a pinball game.
That's fantastic.
And it switches to video, so it's a physical pinball game, but it's like a mini board, isn't it? And then it will switch to the arcade game, which is like a video actual arcade screen. So that was interesting. And well, the other one I'm going to let you talk about the Bubble one. Do you want to talk about that one? Yeah.
So down on the Japanese floor, the sort of mod like thing, the mod like thing was Bubble the Lost Caverns or Caves.
Yeah, caves. Yeah.
Caves. And if you're so used to and so ingrained with the 100 levels on Bubble, this is another 100 fantastic levels that don't discredit it as don't think there's elegant design to the levels. It's like, wow, these are equally as fantastic, and it's great to see that in the arcade to play as well. That is just absolutely
it is
brilliant.
because so a little bit of history with this. I mean, these are all still Taito designed levels, but these are the ones that they did on the home consoles. You know, as that interesting one. So basically, what they've done on the hack board, you know, they've hacked the arcade board, but painstakingly brought across to the best way they could. They've had to make the odd change here and there. All these levels that Taito had designed on the home consoles, but on the arcade version. And as Kingy said, I mean, you can track it down and put the hack version on, on your main collection.
Mm-hmm.
But to see it there on the actual arcade board itself.
Oh, it's fantastic, wasn't it?
Yeah, and they've done the marquee. You know, so it says Bubble Bobble.
It looks like this authentic. It looks like Bubble Bobble 2 in many ways, isn't it?
It is, and playing through it, it's really good, isn't it? Because you're right, is Bubble Bobble. You know, because we've played it so much, it becomes a bit second nature, where it's like, okay, on this level I stand here, shoot the ghosts, then you're
learning it all from beginning again. You're almost playing it like how you first came across Bubble Bobble back in the day. You're starting from afresh, and that's what makes it really good and really stand out.
And they also had I really like that, but they also had Lunar Lander was there.
Yes.
I've never seen that in the world before. And it really is interesting, isn't it? Because you've got, I mean, it's a massive arcade cabinet, and you've got like a proper sort of thruster where you're like pulling like this industrial sort of throttle, and
it makes the game properly enjoyable, doesn't it?
It does.
Not as if it's normally a game in the first place, but that's the way to play it.
Oh, absolutely. And you got the abort button, which I've never really used on the emulator one, which cause normally you're sort of like working through, and that's kind of important. You know, you've got your buttons for abort and then your thrust and things like that. And it just gives you a whole new experience. It was rock hard. I don't know. It felt a lot more difficult than playing it in the home.
Yeah.
But of course, it's nice that there's yet another vector game that they've brought. You know, you can play the real deal.
Yeah.
I mean, to our listeners, in the unlikely event you don't know, it's essentially quite an early Atari release, and you're sort of like landing a lunar lander onto Mars.
Landed platforms on the planet. You're on,
and you have to worry about obviously inertia and.
Did you say Mars, by the way?
No, I said Moon. Did I say Mars?
I was going to say that's the word lunar is being in it.
Yeah, sorry, Moon. Maybe I'm getting tired. I don't know. But it was really good. But all of these games are fantastic. I really loved. I mean, it was only because Key's not as keen on Pac-Man, or that iteration. But also, I guess it's quite a well-known one. But I fell in love with Junior Pac-Man when I was there this week.
Yeah, it done nothing for me. It doesn't. I mean, I love Pac-Mania. I really do. I just love the jumping element on that, and I just love the different designs of levels and the cool music and the 3D graphics. But in terms of the Pac-Man games, whether it's Miss Pac-Man or whatnot, they never gave me any more than the original did.
No, I mean, for me, what's great about Junior Pac-Man is it's a much bigger maze. There's some elements where you get like big pills, like fat pills, rather than not your power pellets, and they slow you down but give you more points. So there's just lots of little tricks and nuances and stuff. And you also got the story that it's told in the clip scenes, but I just found it a lot faster and more responsive, being I guess one of the older iterations. And it does mean I think the only Pac-Man game that they're missing now, so they've got Pac-Lan, they've got Pac and Pal, haven't they? Or Super Pac-Man. No, the only one they're missing is Pac and Pal. They've got Super Pac-Man, and they've got like Miss Pac-Man, and obviously the original Pac-Man. So it's just nice, and now they've got Baby Pac-Man as well. So they've pretty much got almost every one of Pac-Man, which is lovely, isn't it? Really.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, any other ones that stood out to you that were new?
I don't recall seeing. Maybe it was there before, but I don't recall seeing it. Was Ikari Warriors with the
No,
the,
that
the
was
rotary
definitely
joysticks?
new. Yeah, with the
Yeah,
rotary
I was
joystick.
delighted to see that because you can't play. I mean, you get hacked mods of it where
Yeah.
it's got directional shooting, but to play it like how it was in the arcade with the rotational joystick was a treat. I loved it back in the day, and it was great to go back and have a go of it.
Oh, that's good. Actually, I never got on with the Ikari
No, you did
Warriors.
say that to me, so
Yeah, I just never. I think it's
So,
more on
I,
me being not
I
very good.
prefer that over Commando, to be honest.
Yeah, I can sort of get that because with the rotary stick and things, I never really got on with Commando either. I really, I guess, and this, yeah, when I started getting into those sort of games, it's when you started getting into Smash TV and Mercs and Shock Troopers and all of those great ones. But yeah, I guess it's, Commando was all right in the home ports and things; they were pretty solid. But yeah, it's not a not a type of game that I particularly gel with. Probably a bit like you with Pac-Man and things like that.
Yeah.
So no, it's cool. And there was a few other weird ones like Carnival and things like that. But that's not very good, really. The games, but it's always lovely to see any game, isn't it? Any game new to you. Congo Bongo was there. That
Congo
was
Bongo, of course it was. Yeah, that was new. Yeah,
that's amazing. That was really, really good. For those who don't know, if you're listening and not watching the video, it's like an isometric version of Donkey Kong.
Yeah, it's good fun.
And really good, done by Sega. And but what's great is completely different levels on each board, isn't it, that you go on? So it's got a lot of variety too. So that was a fun one. But yeah, no, I as I say, every time I go back to Arcade Club, it's amazing. There's just so much choice. Every time I'm like clambering to go back because it's I never think, I've played everything that I wanted to play. I'm holding on by my fingernails, saying, I don't want to leave. You can't make me leave. So, yeah.
It's such a depressing journey back home. And because you've had a good weekend, work is imminent. And it gives you the Sunday blues even all the more.
Yeah. I think the next time I need to book a week off. So you've got at least a couple of days,
Yeah.
And, but yeah, I mean, to reiterate, it was fantastic meetup yet again. I think everybody had fun. I love the fact with this group, there's never any drama or anything like that.
None
it's
whatsoever.
Just good friends.
Yeah.
Everybody having a few beers, but nobody getting out of control or anything. It's just all about the games and catching up with people. Yeah, so lovely. Any more you want to say before we wrap things up?
No, just again, thanks for everyone who turned up and made it a fantastic weekend. It wouldn't be the same without you. So thank you everyone for making the effort. I know it costs money. I know it costs time. You're away from your families. You might get grief from your partners, whatever. But it just makes for this amazing weekend that has just grown and grown, and it's the highlight of the year. And I look forward to it, and I can't wait till this time next year again.
Yeah, same here. It really is. I echo all that Kingy has said. It really, I felt humbled and privileged with being able to see everybody and just to see that much. Because I mean, sometimes when you're doing these podcasts, you see the viewing figures, and they're always quite wonderful.
It's faceless,
but it's faceless, and you don't know whether anybody's actually listening because, a lot of podcasts tools will actually just download it automatically if you subscribe. So, and of course that's classed as a listen, which it isn't really. So sometimes you wonder if you're just shouting in the wind, isn't it? It's so important, like the Discord and these meetups, in just realizing that there's so much love and community that's built up around this podcast, and that really warms my heart. Yeah, and that's what it's all about, and that's certainly what all we care about. That's why we don't really, that's why we're sort of lucky that Garen and that will pay the hosting charges and things, but we very much don't want to like do Patreon or things, because this is just a hobby for us and just having fun, isn't it? And it's nice to keep money off. It's not what it's about. It doesn't want it. I'd hate for that to be the focus of things.
Yeah. No,
so
agreed,
lovely.
Agreed.
Fantastic. Well, I hope you've enjoyed. I hope you try some of these games that we've shouted out, and I hope, even if you're not coming with us to Arcade Club, try and visit the place. It really is a special place, and we are so lucky to have such a place exist in the modern world. So give it a try. Okay, well, until next time, keep it retro.
Bye-bye.